Hi everyone, this baby blanket will be 30 by 40 inches and it's made with a Joann Fabrics yarn called Buttercream. It's very soft, the edging is soft even though it looks like it might be a scratchy type of yarn, but it's very soft, easy to make, and I'm going to show you all the materials that you're going to need. Let's get started. Okay, this yarn that I'm using in some of the pictures looks like it's a peach shade, but it's actually a pink. It's actually called pale pink. And this is from Joann Fabrics. It's a Joann Fabrics yarn. And here's the label just to show you that it's made of acrylic and alpaca for the pink yarn. And of course you're going to need your wide-eyed needle to weave in the ends, your scissors, and I used a Q 12 millimeter size crochet hook. I bought a package of crochet hooks online, and I did not realize that Q came in so many sizes. There's also a 15 and an 18 and a 20. But this is a 12 millimeter Q needle. That's what I used. So let's get going on this project. I do want to show you the other yarn that I used for the trim, and it's also Joann as well. So this is the other yarn, and it's Buttercream Angel Hair, and this is just the color white, and it made a nice border. It's got a fuzzy look to it. I did use the Q 12 millimeter crochet hook. If you want to try using a different crochet hook on the trim, maybe a smaller one, go ahead and do that. All right, let's get started. Okay, so first we're going to go ahead and make our slip knot. I'm going to wrap it around my finger twice. And I'm going to take the back piece of yarn over the front piece and the front piece over my finger, slip the hook in, tighten it up, and I'm going to chain 61. I'm just going to go ahead and just chain a few right here, and I'm going to meet you at the end. I'll stop the video and restart it. So there's 4 chains, and they're nice and big. You can see them pretty easily. So I'll stop the video and I'll meet you at the end of 61 chains. Okay, now that we've done our 61 chains, the 61st chain acts as a turning chain. We're going to do a half double crochet, pull the yarn around the hook, go into that second chain, and pull up the yarn again, come back through, pull up the yarn again, go through all 3 loops on the hook. Now I'm going to put my stitch marker in. If you need to stop the video to get a stitch marker, go ahead and do that. You can use a bobby pin or paper clip, anything like that. I love stitch markers. They make crochet life a lot easier. Now I'm going to do one more half double crochet, and I want you to continue all the way down. So I'm going to wrap the yarn around the hook, go into the next chain, come back through, pull up the yarn, and go through all 3 loops on the hook. So continue this with each chain. You should end up with 60 half double crochets. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so now we've finished our first row, and we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. But please count and make sure you do have 60 half double crochets before you do this. There's my stitch marker at that one end. I'm going to put a stitch marker here in just a second, but first I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to flip the work, and we're going to work back down from right to left again. Now I'm going to do a half double crochet into the top of the half double crochet of the previous row, that first one there. You have to go under the 2 strands of yarn, bring your yarn back through, pick it up again, and go through all 3 loops. There's your half double crochet. I'm going to do the next one, and you're going to do this all the way down to the end, and you'll have 60 half double crochets again. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my stitch marker in the top of this first half double crochet that I did for the second row. And I do this every time I start a new row, is I'll put a stitch marker in. You can do this if you want, or if you're fine without it, that's okay too. So carry on, and then I will show you when you get to the point where you need to change a ball of yarn. I'm going to show you in the next video how to do that. So keep going. So this is our first sample way of adding a new ball of yarn. This is the first one, and I've got a second one after this if this one doesn't work for you. So I've done my half double crochet, and I'm going to do another one, but I'm going to stop midway through. Right here where I have the 3 loops on the hook, I want to stop, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my other ball of yarn, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it out 12-15 inches, somewhere around there, and just take the yarn and just place it over the hook, and then hold it tightly, not too tight. This is your new working yarn. And now go into the 3 loops on the hook, pull it through, tighten it up where you need to. And now what we're going to do is grab the piece of yarn that is the working yarn attached to the ball, and then go into your loop, do another half double crochet, and you see how the loops are loosening up, and this is where you have to go to the back and tighten the strands. I'm doing one more half double crochet, okay, so now I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to pull on the strands to tighten it up. And then you only need to do this probably one time, maybe two times. And then you just continue with your half double crochets to the end of the row. So here's another way to add a ball of yarn. I've completed my half double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and add my new ball of yarn. I'm going to pull a tail out about 15 inches or so, and I'm going to do a slip knot and put this on the hook. If you want to do a different type of knot, you can do that as well. I've got a slip knot here, and this is going to act as my new working yarn. So insert the hook into the loop, pull up your yarn, come back through. Now you have 3 loops on the hook, and pull up your yarn and go through the 3 loops, just like your normal half double crochet. All right, so now you've connected the new ball of yarn. There's the strand on the back, and you may have to pull one or both of them to tighten it up so it's not too loose as you continue to do your half double crochets all the way across to the end of this row. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more. Another half double crochet. Okay. And again, if you need to tighten up those strands, but they seem to be pretty tight at this point, and you're just going to weave those in at the end. So carry on. Okay, now we're going to finish off, and we're going to do our border. And I ended up with a total of 38 rows. And now what I'm going to do, I did my last half double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and cut a tail, and then I'm going to pull the tail through, and I'm going to do a chain. My very last stitch here is a chain, and then pull the tail through. And once you pull that tail through, you just tighten it up, and we're going to weave in the end. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how I weave in, and then you'll do this with the other tails to finish off the blanket at this point before we put the border on. So I'm going to go ahead and try to thread this needle. Let's see if I can do it. Yep, went through the first time. Okay, and I'm going to have a little bit of a tail there. And we just go ahead and grab any particular spot we want right next to where the yarn is attached. And it doesn't matter which side you're on, because this particular blanket has no right side or wrong side. So I'm just going to go through a couple of pieces of thread, pieces of yarn, and I'm just going to pull it through. And then I'm going to go ahead and go through a few more pieces of yarn. You know, preferably where they're kind of dense, not where there's a hole, or a big gap, I should say. So I'm going to go through a few more, and I'm trying to use my left hand because I've decided in my old age to become ambidextrous, and I don't know why, but I'm using my left hand. And kind of come back through right here. Pull it through again. Now at this point you could probably stop and just pull it through and then just snip it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it one more time, and I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to pull that little piece right back out to make a loop and put my needle through it, and this will make it even more secure. See how I pull it tight, and I'm going to do it one more time, and again that's probably enough, but I'm going to do it just one more time and make sure it's really good and secure. All right, so I've got that nice and tight, and I'm going to cut that off and do this with your other loose ends, and then when we come back we're going to go ahead and do the border. All right, we're going to start our border. I went ahead and put a slip knot on my hook and put my hook into any corner piece of yarn, and we're going to go ahead and do a slip stitch. So we're going to go ahead and grab the yarn with our hook and bring it through both pieces of yarn on the hook. There's the first one, there's the second one, there's your slip stitch. And we're going to do single crochets all the way across. Now there's no definition on this side of the project, so we're just going to go in, we're just going to eyeball this, and we're just going to go along and do our single crochets all the way across. You're just going to grab a spot kind of next to where you're at, kind of close, not too far away. Try not to catch a piece of yarn that's really loose. If it is, try to go under 2 pieces of yarn to do your single crochet. And that time I just went under 1 single piece of yarn. You can also try a smaller hook. It seemed like it was a little bit difficult with this Q size hook on the border. You can try a P size or an N size. It'll probably just come out just as nice. And I'm going to go ahead and do another one here. You see how I'm struggling a little bit because it's really tight. When we get to the corners, we're going to do 3 single crochets in the corners. So when I come back around to where I just started here, because I didn't do 3 single crochets there, I just did a slip stitch. I'll come back around to the end and show you how to finish off here. This is just the first row of our border. There's going to be a second row after this. If you have a lot of pink left over, maybe you bought 4 balls of the pink, you can do this border in a pink yarn with the same yarn. You can do the same thing and just finish it off with a bunch of single crochets, or you can continue on with the next row that I'm going to do for the border as well. Just wanted to mention that if you couldn't find this white yarn or another contrasting yarn that you wanted to use. So go ahead and just single crochet down to the corner, and this will be our first row of the border. There's going to be a different type of stitching for the second row. So carry on. All right, we've come to the corner, and because of this one little gap right here, I'm going to do one more single crochet right in here. So let me go ahead and insert my hook. I'm going to pull up the yarn, bring it back through, pull up the yarn, and finish off that single crochet. Like I said, it's kind of tight. There we go. So now it's kind of stretching that yarn there. I'm going to go ahead and do my 3 single crochets right where my thumb is pointing. So here's the first one. Second one. And the third one. So you're going to judge this. If the yarn is stretching too much, then you're going to try to insert it under a different piece of yarn where it's a little bit snug. So there we go. We've done our corner, and we're going to continue on doing our single crochets all the way around. When you get to the next corner, you're going to do the same thing. Put your 3 single crochets in the corner. And our second row, we're going to use the loops of the top of the single crochets to make a different type of stitch across the top. Carry on. Okay, so now that I'm come back to the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and do 3 single crochets right here in the corner. Take out my stitch marker. Here's 1. And 2. And 3. Okay, so now to close this up right here, we're going to do a slip stitch right in here. Just insert your hook, bring it through, and bring it through. So now at this point you could finish off. You would just do 1 chain right here, cut your thread or your yarn, pull it all the way through, and then weave in the ends. But we're going to continue, and we're going to go ahead and make our little humps, little continuous design going across and all the way around. So let's do that next. Okay, so now that we have done our corner with our 3 single crochets, and we slip stitched right here, now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to skip the next stitch and go into the next stitch and do a single crochet. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Skip the next stitch, go into the next stitch, and do a single crochet. Insert the hook, pull up the yarn and bring it back through, Pull up the yarn and bring it through 2. And you're going to continue this. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Skip and single crochet. Okay, and so this is what it's starting to look like here. Just cute little loops right here. So go ahead and continue down this row until you get to the end, and when we get to the corner, you'll just continue on with the same pattern, nothing special to do in the corners. Just continue the same way, and I will meet you back around at the end. So we've come around all the way to the end, and we're going to go ahead and finish off. And you see there is 1 stitch left. I'm going to just do a slip stitch. I finished off here with the chain 3 and the single crochet. And I'm just going to connect it and finish it off by doing a slip stitch right here. And take my scissors, cut this end right here. And I'm just going to pull that through, tighten it up, and weave in the ends. If you enjoyed making this baby blanket and watching this tutorial, please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell for future notifications. Thanks again.